Mpepo Ramabulana has offered to pay back any money that the Reserve Bank report says he received illegally from VBS Mutual Bank. The Great Bank Heist report said that he received 17.7 million rand from the VBS Bank in gratuitous payments. Meanwhile, VBS employees at Louis Trichardt and Thohoyandou branches in Limpopo have reported for duty despite having been handed retrenchment notices on Friday. These retrenchment packages were issued to 100 employees, while the other 25 are to remain at the bank. The retrenched workers have not yet signed the notices, saying they're not happy with the severance packages. They're expected to work until November the 12th. We're joined now by the VhaVenda King spokesperson on the line, Makonde Mathivha. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time this evening. The King has issued a statement through you saying he's embarrassed at all that's been revealed in terms of the monies he received. The obvious question is to ask, how could he not have known that there were problems with this money?
Thank you, Gu, and good evening to yourself and your listeners. The reason why His Majesty released a statement is that he wants to work with those who are committed to making sure that whatever can still be done to assist in the process of addressing the problems that affected the bank can be done. He wants to play a role as well. Now, the way how things happened is that there was no way he was going to be aware of the nature and quality of the gifts and resources, financial and otherwise, that he was receiving from entities and individuals that were closer to the bank and from the bank, VBS, I mean. Now with the benefit of hindsight, as a result of the report that was crafted by Advocate Terimtao, now he's aware that some of the financial gifts that he received were not as bona fide, they were tainted. He is worried, though, that Terimtao did not find it sufficient for him to call him to have a session with him so that he can also understand what goes into that 17.7 million. But be that as it may, it's very worried about the loss of jobs by people who were employed by VBS. It's very worried about the monies that its subjects lost. It's very worried that the bank is closing down progressively. So that is why he released a statement, and going further to say that he wants to be assisted to understand the breakdown of these financial resources and other resources so that he can then commit himself. In fact, he's committed to make repayments wherever he's shown that these monies or these resources are as a result of the problems that affected the VBS.
Let me ask you this question. I mean, it's extraordinary that you say the King was unaware of the breakdown of some of these gifts. Let's talk through some of what's been reported in the public domain, that he received, for example, a house in the Dainfern housing estate worth 7.8 million rand. There was a Range Rover Sport, there was a BMW, there was a Mercedes-Benz, there was a helicopter, beachfront property in Cape Town. I mean, is this the typical thing that the King receives? And if not, where did he think the money was coming from?
Now, I think what you are saying, you're repeating what we are saying. That we are aware that there are gifts that he was given by entities and some of its subjects. And let me tell you that when people come to traditional leaders, particularly senior traditional leaders, they have a way of volunteering support and gifts, depending on how resourceful they are, depending how what capacity they have financially.
Just come in then, Makonde. Are you saying that all the gifts that I've just mentioned were quite typical and there was nothing for the King to raise his eyebrows about, even though they came from one source?
No, I'm not saying that.
So how could he not have known? How could he not have asked questions? Where was this money coming from?
Can you allow me to respond? Can you allow me to respond to your question?
By all means, please do.
Yes. I am saying, you know, there are stories that he was given a helicopter. I can tell you that he was not given a helicopter. The helicopter belonged to people who allowed him to use it as and when he wanted. So I can't say today here that he was given a helicopter. So that is why we are saying...
With respect, though, Makonde, that's not strictly true. At a point, he believed the helicopter was his. It only emerged when the information came out that, in fact, it wasn't registered in his name. That's precisely why, for example, he was given gifts of cattle as an apology. At one point, he thought it was his.
No, I'm not talking about believing here. I'm talking about what I know.
No, but it's material. It's material to the discussion we are having, because I'm asking you, how could he not have known? When he was receiving all these gifts, you say it wasn't his helicopter, but I'm saying to you, at a point, he thought it was.
No, I'm saying to you, to the best of our knowledge and the information that we have, he was not aware that people who were giving him all these things were stealing these things from wherever they were stealing them. And in this case, they were stealing them from the VBS in terms of the report by Terimtau.
With respect, I'm going to ask you the question for the third time then. Did he think the money from VBS, this largesse, did he think it was falling from the sky?
He did not receive money from the VBS. He received this money from people who were connected to VBS, and without him being aware that the manner in which they got it from VBS was illicit.
It raises all kinds of questions about exactly the kind of benefactors that give this kind of gift to the king then, if you're telling us that he thought there was nothing untoward with these gifts and there were no questions to be asked.
Yes, he believed so.
So what other gifts might the king be receiving that we don't know about?
Excuse me?
What other gifts might the king be receiving that we don't know about?
On a day-to-day basis, his subjects and people who are resourceful, they go to kings, and in this case, they go to him. Those who are able to donate whatever they want to give, they do so. But in this case, we are talking about money that was stolen from the VBS and resources that were stolen from that came from a VBS. And we can only see these things now in the report, and that is why we are saying, if it were possible for Terimtau to bring the king down to say, look here, this is the list that we are talking about, which has not happened. So that is why we don't have all the clarity that we're talking about, and we insist on having that session with whoever is in charge of the bank or the Reserve Bank, so that we can streamline all these elements that get into the 17.5 written by Terimtau.
Makonde, municipalities are broke. People have lost their jobs. Many more have lost their deposits with VBS Bank. I mean, you surely are not telling us that the king is also a victim in all of this.
I didn't get your question right.
I'm saying people have lost their jobs. People have lost their deposits with the VBS Bank. Certainly, many municipalities have now been crippled because of all of this. You are surely not making the argument that the king is a victim in all of this.
No, I'm not saying he's a victim in the same way as the depositors are victims of this scandal or crisis. I am saying that he is a victim in the sense that the bank has collapsed. He's part of this society. People have lost their jobs, and his name was dragged into this. Now he has to make sure that there are some repayments. So that surely gets him frustrated as well.
All right, we'll have to leave it there with the VhaVenda King's spokesperson, Makonde Mathivha.